And thank you, all of you. To echo Prakash, I just want to thank each and every of the more than 400 of you in this room. They say it takes a village. And for WatchGuard, our village is you, our partner ecosystem. So every success we've had to now, everything you heard about in Prakash's presentation, it's because of you. So thank you. And as much as I enjoy looking at our past success, we have to keep our eye on the future and what it's going to take to have continued success. So for the next 15, 20 minutes or so, last session before a quick break, we're going to look not just at what WatchGuard's doing to continue to enable you, which Andrew will get into after the break, but we're going to take a peek about what's behind our investment, the why. So, as I kick off, I'm going to start with the elephant in the room, the R word. I can't tell you what's going to happen 3 months from now, 6 months from now. If I could, I'd probably be on the beach with my dog and not here because I'd be able to predict the future. But there are a few things I do know for a fact. One of those is that cyber threats are recession-proof. The bad guys don't take a break. If anything, during turbulent times, the threat is higher because a lot of the techniques that the threat actors use are meant to prey on people and organizations on times of duress, right? So what does that tell us? That tells us not that we're not going to be impacted by any kind of change in the economic climate, but that we're fortunate. Fortunate because there is still great demand for cybersecurity. Everything that we offer, everything you offer is still in demand, and there are many companies, many technologies across many sectors that can't say that right now. I think that's a pretty strong position to be in. When you look at the trends, what is the forecast for cybersecurity? What are we facing over the next few years? So no matter the data I pull, whether it's from the big guns at Gartner, IDC, PwC, or some of the channel-focused publications like IPIC Consulting or Canalys, all predicting steady growth. Some a little bit more than others, but all growth. In fact, Gartner last year published their 5-year forecast for cybersecurity spending, and it was high. It was high growth, but they adjusted that forecast just a couple of months ago, earlier this year, and they adjusted it upwards, right? So amidst all this talk of a decline in the economy, cybersecurity is still forecasting growth, and analyst organizations around the world are increasing those forecasts up. In the case of Gartner, it was about $10 billion upwards, and it added a percentage point to the CAGR for the period ending in 2026. So very positive signs with regards to security spending. But let's look at that through the channel lens, right? So if you look at some of the data from Canalys, not only is cybersecurity growing, we've spoke before about as little as 90% of cybersecurity spending going through the channel. Some analysts predict it much higher. But within the 4 segments, core to WatchGuard, therefore core to this audience, you see double-digit growth in nearly all of those subsegments, right? Again, positive news to look at for building the future of our businesses together. What's equally interesting is the sub-market within the indirect routes to market that's growing the fastest. And it is that growth of the security spending that's going to MSPs and MSSPs. So that managed security service spend has the highest growth over that same period ending in 2026. So what a great position to be in, right? We all have our challenges. There are uphill battles, and I'll talk a little bit about those. But we're in a space where growing and demand is there. We have products that have double-digit growth behind them, and we are in a business model that has the highest growth rates. I think that is a great position to be in, and I hope you do as well. But it doesn't come without challenge, right? Profitability is becoming more and more difficult. This isn't directly due to the economic situation. This was true a year ago, 2 years ago. It's made especially true by the shift in business model that a lot of us are facing right now, each of you and WatchGuard as an organization, right? As we introduce more managed services, shift from that resell motion to the addition of managed services, there's a lot of cost to that. Money that you have to spend ahead of revenue, back office spend on staff, right? That puts a crunch on our profitability. Then you pair that with what's happening with end user caution and how they're spending money, it definitely puts a crunch on profitability. And it's something top of mind for WatchGuard when we're looking at how we work with you, how we build for you, right? And speaking of end users, they have their own realities they're facing that are similar to a lot of the realities we're facing, right? We talked about profitability when delivering a managed service. Not only are they looking for managed services, they're looking for more flexible ways to purchase, right? When budgets are being cut, spending is being scrutinized, they don't want to commit to long-term contracts, and they certainly don't want to pay for things up front. They're facing the same hiring shortages that we have, right? There's just not enough skilled IT staff out there to fill the roles we have. Bad news for everyone, slightly less bad news for the folks in this room because that means more outsourcing, right? If I'm a smaller business and I only can afford 1 or 2 IT staff, I can't be a junior IT staff. I can't be an entry level at a university. It has to be even more higher demand skill set, right? Those more skilled, longer tenured staff, harder to get. They're going to outsource more. Not only are they going to outsource more, they're going to shift to outsourcing to a single vendor, right? Instead of saying, okay, I can go cherry pick and get best of breed from 5 or 6 different vendors, they're going to look for the benefit of scale. They're going to turn less to the vendors and more to you, more to vendors or to managed service providers, to partners who can consolidate all of their IT or at least their security spending and their management into a centralized place. So what is challenging for the end user community can really turn into opportunities for each of you and ultimately for WatchGuard and us together. All right, so as we look into the rest of the presentation, I'm going to walk through a playbook of kind of where we see our partner community jointly with WatchGuard leveraging some areas for success. There's some tailwinds and some headwinds that I think that both of us need to look at to be successful. If you first look at what's working in our favor, the tailwinds, right? Just to summarize, great demand for cybersecurity, even more demand for that as a managed service. How are we leveraging that, all of us in this room? If you look at how people want to purchase, there's an opportunity to differentiate ourselves through flexible business models that equal recurring revenue for us longer term. There's also the opportunity to leverage our existing customer base to inflate our top line shorter term through cross-sell, right? It's easier to sell to the existing clients you have right now, especially in this type of environment, than to bring on new customers. That said, there are some headwinds, right? I mentioned it, there's the skills shortage. We still have to get enough butts in seats to run our businesses and grow them. We have cautious new buyers, which means new business outside of our existing base is going to be harder to secure than it has in the recent past. And profitability is going to continue to be a struggle. We're going to continue to have to balance those growth investments with how we stay profitable, either for ourselves or for our investors. But again, a challenge that we're facing. So the playbook. When we do our planning, whether it's our annual planning or our 3-year planning, we look at you. That's just a glimpse at some of the data we look at to try to understand what's going on in our partner community and therefore where we should invest our resources, our sales team, our marketing dollars, and then of course our product investments. So for the 2023 going into 2024 period, kind of if it was up to me, if it was up to WatchGuard, what would we say the partner playbook for success is? There's 5 things I'm going to walk through. The first shouldn't be a shocker. It's the investment in cybersecurity. Many of you in this room are full portfolio partners. Some of you just started dabbling in security recently. Maybe you grew up and established yourselves in more networking than in security. But it's not just about breadth of portfolio. It's about the depth of what your offering is. So if I use the WatchGuard example, you can absolutely grow by becoming a 2, 3, 4 product line offering from WatchGuard. Add other security products, complementary products. But where the rubber really meets the road on that is having all those products managed by WatchGuard Cloud and then being able to deliver your own managed services on top of those products. Not only does that accelerate your growth, but it helps with profitability. When you look at what are the most profitable services and offerings that our partners are reporting, managed services is right up there at the top of the stack. Sure, professional services, another great alternative, If you don't already have an established professional services business, staffing is going to be a big problem for you, right? Managed services, on the other hand, if you select the right partner who's invested in automation and scalable offerings, in our case, security, you can deliver managed services that are highly profitable with entry level and fewer staff than if you choose more complex or solutions that aren't automated, right? Something to think about as you're expanding and building out your cybersecurity portfolio. I like this slide. It's one of my favorite slides. It depends on what region, what part of the world I'm in, and managed services or MSP, MSSP can be a naughty word. It means something different to everyone. I like this because it's not about the label, it's about the how. And it reminds us that no matter who you are, it's about what's right for your business, right? It's not about labels. You can deliver managed services completely on your own, all by yourself, leveraging the tools you get from vendors like WatchGuard, or you can completely outsource it to vendors like WatchGuard, or anything in between. And you'll hear a lot about that from Andrew, from Scott, both in the business and technical track, and today here in the keynotes, right? So just know, no matter where you are at, no matter the size of your company or the skill set you have, managed services is within reach, and it is something that should be in your short and long-term plan of how you're getting there. Second, anytime we're in a market like this, pricing always comes up. I know it's a hot topic because I'm on the special bids, email distribution list, for lack of a better way to describe it, at WatchGuard, and I see the discounting that comes in and the requests on a daily basis. The volume is high. But it's not your only option. And I don't say that as just as a vendor. I say it for you. The less you discount, the more that goes in your pocket. But when there's price sensitivity, what are your other options? And I think there are a lot of great options for you to look at with regards to both first looking at the term of the contract. People are moving away from 1-3-year terms, paying you all up front. It's a hit up front, but it gives that cash flexibility to your customers to start offering them monthly payment terms. It makes you more attractive in a competitive situation where maybe other vendors can't offer those monthly payment options. Beyond the frequency of payment, really consider the term commitments. Do you really need a 1 or 3-year commitment? Can you even go no commitment? How comfortable are you with that? It's a very attractive tool right now for gaining competitive preference, especially when your buyers are very cost conscious in a market right now. So I encourage you, special bidding, discounting, very important. I'm not down on it, but I do think that there's options to preserve kind of price points if you look at flexibility in how you price and package, and selecting vendors and distributors that will support you in that journey. Just an example, this isn't just through the recession. Nearly 2/3, I think, close to 70% of partners are standard now on monthly billing. The demand was there before, kind of wallets got a little bit squeezed, and so we see that only becoming more and more prominent. Next, I talked about this a little bit. New customer acquisition is tough. When your boss is squeezing your budgets, when tensions are high, people are less likely to bring in new vendors. It doesn't matter what space you're in, right? They're more likely, though, to trust the vendors they already have and have a good relationship with. So it's a very strong opportunity as you're adding to your portfolio, adding managed services, to really leverage that install base of yours to boost the top line, right? I call it starting at home first. What can we do at home to be better, to get more from each of our customers? And it's a good way to practice bringing new things to market. It's a friendly environment before you go out and drum up the new business with new clients, right? So never underestimate the power of leveraging your install base. But it can't be a single-pronged approach. We do still have to go out there and get new business. And it's more important than ever before, for multiple reasons, that you have a very strong idea of who your ideal customer is. And do not compromise, right? Not all customers are created equal. I'm sure you all can sit there and think of a customer you regret taking on board. And when you look at your personal businesses, scalability is really built on having a common customer that you can serve with your stack, with your pricing, and with your support model. And every time you compromise on that, it always bites you in the butt. So know who you want to sell to. Do you require them to have technical IT staff? Do you require them to adopt your full stack, or are you going to let them pick what's in the offering? Do you have limitations on geography? The more you work on defining who your ideal customer is, the easier everything gets, right? Not only will it drive your scalability long-term, but it makes everything else easier, starting with sales and marketing. Once you know who that ideal customer is, you can then build targeted lists. You can work with your vendors like WatchGuard to effectively market to them, to advertise to them, to set very personalized messages to them, have higher conversion rates, and really be seen to have a custom bespoke offering for them when really it's just good targeting, right? So building that target customer not only helps you scale, but it helps with your new business development and your pipeline development activities. And so finally is trust. A trusted ecosystem is so important. I think I skipped with my little clicky with automation, so I will not try to go backwards. But automation is kind of the second to last. Automation also drives scale, right? Prakash talked about it in his presentation. As you grow, as you change your business model, automation is really what's going to help you bring on new customers. If you're feeling right now, all right, I have the right staff, I don't really want to change, I don't really know that we need more customers, automation of all aspects of your business, whether it's how you purchase from distribution, how you interact with your vendor, or how you manage the offering on a daily basis. Picking partners and solutions that enable you to automate will help you scale your business without having to add additional resources. And then finally is trust, right? Prakash spoke about it a little bit. It'll be a recurring theme throughout the event, but it's trust. None of us are in this alone. Each and every one of us is dependent on our employees, our vendors, and our customers on a daily basis. No product is perfect, no employee is perfect, we all make mistakes. But at the end of the day, the question is, do you trust the people and organizations in your business environment? And it is so critical, right? Trust is built on showing up for each other over and over and over again. It's based on a common purpose and shared motivations. So never underestimate the value of trust throughout your business ecosystem. Keep it in mind with every hire you make, every vendor you select, and every customer you do business with. So, in summary, the playbook for success, the things that I think each of you should be keeping in mind as you're planning short-term and longer-term, right? Invest in cybersecurity. More importantly, what's your plan for delivering those more profitable managed services on top of your tech stack? Secondly, leverage that install base. It'll really give you a boost to that top line, especially in an environment when new customer acquisition is harder than ever. Pick the right customer, not only to drive your scalability, but to also bolster your new business development capabilities, right? Automate. Automate will fuel your scale. It's the pillar behind every successful MSP flywheel. And finally, trust. Never, ever, ever underestimate the impact of trust within your business ecosystem. So with that, my time's coming to an end. We're going to move to break as soon as I'm finished. We'll meet back in this room at 4 o'clock for Andrew, and then we have Corey and Mark's closing keynote before we have our poolside reception. When we come back from break, we'll kick off with Andrew Young, our Chief Product Officer. Andrew will dive into the what we're doing. What is WatchGuard doing in 2023 and beyond to keep showing up for you, to keep earning your trust? So we'll move to a quick break. With that, we'll come back to Andrew Young, 4 p.m. back in this room. Thank you.